Welcome. Today I'll be going over how I built this diorama, looking at the basic construction as well as the materials used. But first, I'll go over some pointers on the paint job of each miniature. For the Tyranid model, I'd like to highlight how I painted the fleshy bits through the use of oil paints. I covered everything with a mix of purple and red, before cleaning everything up with makeup sponges. This left a purple tint behind, as well as an olive base over which I'll be blending later. It is important to remove as much paint as possible. I then grabbed a pinch of white paint and removed the excess from my brush, before proceeding to dry brush the model with oils. As I gently rub the surface with my brush, the white paint blends itself with the purple oil base, to create a perfect blend on the raised details. Having worked all over the flesh, I began to enhance some muscles and focal points, through the use of two clean brushes. The first was used to apply dots of oil wherever I wanted to highlight, while the second one was used to gently blend the paint. It is important to note that I haven't used solvents at any point and I'm working as dry as possible. After each blending, my brush picks up paint which I make sure to remove on a paper towel. The process couldn't be more similar to dry brushing, but we actually get super smooth blends. However, the paint will take 1 or 2 days to fully dry. Here is how everything looks with the other elements based in black. That's as far as I'll be showcasing about the Tyranid, except the blood effects which will come later as part of the diorama. For the Space Marine, I base coated every part of the model and applied an all-over wash of black to establish my deepest shadows. To paint the armor, I stuck a bit of sponge to the back of a pencil with superglue. Once dry, I cut the sponge in a cone shape with a pair of scissors, to create a tool which I'll use to stipple the highlights. After that, it was just a matter of picking any shapes I'd like to highlight with my base color, and repeating with lighter ones in a reduced area till I was satisfied. Using a sponge will create a more weathered look, as well as make it really hard for the paint to get on my previously marked shadows. That's as far as I'll be talking about the paint jobs. Let us now have a look at the materials I had at hand for the diorama. Some were easy to get and others I made myself or bought. I used a 10cm round base, cheap barks, and branches, sand, and dirt sifted to get powder and small rocks. Sawdust and twine rope cut to small pieces were mixed with paint to create grass and flocking. The more colors and variety, the better. Small aquarium rocks, cork sheet, grass tufts, static grass, and some 3D printed plants. I began by figuring out the position of my models before sticking the bigger elements, 2 rocks out of chip barks and a tree with a branch. I applied PVA glue near the rocky platforms and began by placing some aquarium rocks. The spaces in between were filled by sprinkling some bigger chunks I got from sifting dirt. I then covered the rest of the base with the thinner dirt, placing a sheet below to make cleanup easier after. Once everything dried up, I base coated everything black and began painting. I used cheap craft paint acrylics for all the painting here. All the dirt and small rocks were covered in brown. For the bigger rocks, I wet blended purple and blue to get some interesting undertones. Most of this, however, will be covered later. For the tree, I dry brushed white to make the texture pop, and the same was done for all the rocks, while on the dirt I used a light pink for dry brushing. Diluted brown paint was applied in a wash consistency over the dirt and tree. When one wash wasn't enough, I applied a second one. This will end up tinting my light highlights to a brownish color. The rocks received the same treatment but with a green wash, which naturally blended with the brown. The tree also got some greens as well as more brown with a pinch of red, which I allowed to blend with the silhouette green. Here is the base once dry. You can see some green wash was also applied over the dirt. I now began to apply my colored sawdust flock. As I said before, the more colors and variety, the better. I began with my darkest green and made my way up to the lightest. Cleaning anything that got over the smaller rocks. To stick it all down, I used alcohol to break the surface tension. This would allow my mix of PVA and water to run through. Once dry, I chose to apply more flocking, even putting some over the big rock. After the light green, I did a sprinkle of brown, which I liked a lot. Over it I threw some grass made out of twine rope. I'll make sure to have more colors at hand next time and to cut it a bit shorter. Any big clumps were removed using my tweezers. After everything was secured with PVA, it was time to stick the models, making sure I liked the position they were in. To add more interest to the scene, a dead space marine was placed at the feet of the Tyranid, and I began to look where to apply my 3D printed plants. Using static grass and flock, I began to blend the plants with the diorama. Using a pipette, I dropped diluted red paint over the marine to let flow in the grass beneath. The strings of blood were a mix using the same red paint and Uhu glue. In order to get this mix to stick, you have to work fast. You only have a couple of seconds where the mix of glue and paint is sticky and stringy before it becomes just a blob. If you have any questions about this effect, you can leave them in the comments. It will require some trial and error since the mix has to sit for a couple of seconds before being applied, and even then you'll have only a couple of seconds again to apply it. With the effect done, the diorama was finished. The 3D printed plants didn't integrate too well with the diorama, so that's something to improve for next time. Apart from that, I really like the end result of the base. This was a very good appetizer as I prepare myself for the launch of 10th edition. You can expect many more videos once I get my hands on my Leviathan box. But that will be it for this week. Thank you everyone for watching, and I hope you picked up some knowledge from this video.